for me, I like going to events and learning, but sometimes the events, there's a slight disconnect from me in the audience and listening to somebody who wants to 10x your business, or they've scaled a business over 3 to 5 years and sold it for hundreds of millions. Sometimes it's inspirational.
Yes.
You walk away feeling good, but we've been in business for a long time. We've had good growth, and I think maybe we're talking about what term did we use, but I think good human, the most human growth in a kind of positive way. So we're not all about profit drive, being ruthless in business, but we want to be the best humans in business. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's being okay making profit, but that doesn't mean you have to be focused on just the money. And as you say, a lot of the world feels right now to be very nowism and quick win. And
AI,
AI, obviously everyone's jumping on bandwagons without really fully considering these things and the value they're really going to play for their clients. So it's a very quick world, and things are changing quite rapidly. Yeah. But I think also as humans, we don't change that rapidly. Really? So I stayed at a weekend away with my wife this weekend, first for quite a few years, with the kids being looked after by the grandparents. And there was Seneca's book. So Seneca was a philosopher from the time of when Jesus was born, year 0. And it's all about how we don't live our life to the fullest. And people complain about life is too short. And he's saying, well, no, we're just not making full use of our life. We get caught up in the day-to-day. We get caught plate spinning. We get caught up in luxuries, and we get caught up in I've got to look good, or it's just what I mean. So even back 2,000 years ago, those human traits that we still get caught up in today's society were the same. So whilst technology is moving quite fast around us and we're adapting to utilize that, there are also a lot of aspects about being human and society that haven't changed in over 2,000 years.
Right.
So I think for me, there's an element here around building our businesses around being better humans and just being a bit more empathetic, being a bit more compassionate, being a bit more driven to ensure that our products and services are providing us the right service, the right level of quality, and people are feeling valued from the work that we do.
Yeah. Another word, culture, gets bandied around a lot. And there are different ways of kind of managing the culture or cultivating the culture. Yeah. And I find it difficult when people come with these strategies and come with these kind of infographics and plans, and this is implement your culture. And over the last 20 odd years in business, if somebody kind of wanted my wisdom and knowledge, I would not know how to articulate a single thing, because I have no plans, no strategy, I am just me. And I've learned to accept, actually, I've done okay in 23 years. And I guess I wanted to give like an example of maybe it's the humanity and how you can be a good business person without, being driven by money, driven by ruthlessness, and you have to win. And again, so the tale is, it's not a tale, it's a real incident. So Friday night, 7:00, 7:30 at night, after a hard week with a glass of wine, sitting on the sofa thinking, just watch a movie. And suddenly, a member of staff gives me a ring. I can hardly make him out, in tears. It's kind of trying to catch his breath. I was like, what's happening? I worked out, he was at the vet. I was like, okay, and your cat's been run over. Okay, can you pay my vet bill? It's whatever. I said, just pass them over, give my credit card details, and paid for that bill. And it was a case of, there was no thought of, when am I going to get paid back? Because that was my personal money. I can't pay that kind of thing with a credit card. That came from me personally. But there was no kind of thinking, how am I going to get it back? Or I need it back. And it was a case of, I knew there and then, as soon as I paid it, I'll get it back tenfold in his loyalty, in work, or maybe staying back a little bit on some projects or whatever. There was no kind of second guessing anything. I just knew it was the right thing to do. And at the end of the day, it was such a smallish amount to the whole business. I thought, it's just nothing. It's that, and the fact that I wouldn't have thought twice. means actually it's intrinsic in me and how I deal with the business.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may, with a larger business, you probably don't have that kind of leeway with all the policies and petty cash, whatever. But it's a case of I'm a business owner, or even if I was a manager, maybe I just pay it anyway, because actually that is the culture, and they say culture starts from the top. So hopefully,
Absolutely,
that has permeated through, and it took a while because right at the beginning there were different people's different personalities, but I think we settle on actually we know the kind of characters or the values or the shape of the people that we want to employ, not that we have to or forced to.
Yeah. That's really interesting because I think we've been looking at our company values, and they can be quite cliched, can't they? Company values. And I think so many organisations drive these values, and they don't really believe in them, and they just come up with them because they feel they need to stick them on the walls and kind of hope for the best. So it's really important, I think, looking at why you want to do values. And for me, I think there's a bit of a hole with not having values you're totally aligned to, because they're a good way marker. So when you've got the right values as a business, they help you make decisions. They help you look at direction because you want to make sure the things you're doing align to the values that you set out and kind of agreed to the team. But also when you're recruiting, you can find people that meet those values as well. So I think when values are looked at and agreed on properly, they play a really strong part of who you are. Culture is slightly different. I think culture always comes top down. So the example you give there will always have a great ripple effect because it's come from the top down, and hopefully at some point you might see someone else replicating that to another member of the team, which would be fantastic. But values are for all of us to kind of live by as well, including me as the business owner, to just check and balance. Am I, if I'm caught up in my thinking, which we talked about earlier, I might not make the best, wisest decisions because I'm down at the bottom of the elevator. So the values allow you to go, right, I'm a bit stuck, or I'm not quite sure which direction to take here. The values help you make that call, and everyone in the business can see that as well. So I think values can play a really strong part.
Yeah. So values in the business are saying actually we will work in this way or within this sector or not within that sector.
Well, I think from work we've been doing on values, and I got this from a book around managing family, and I can't remember the title of it, I'm afraid. So values are already there. The values of the business, you don't create them. Yeah. They already exist. You've got to just find out what they are. Yeah. Because if you start thinking about what you want to be or aspirational, that's not real company values. It might be your values in the future, but values should be what you already are. What already makes us who we are as a business. Yeah. And let's pick that apart a little bit and go, right, because then you're not actually changing anything. You're not trying to be something you're not. It already exists. So when you get it right, it's just a reminder, a way marker to say, remember who we are. Remember what makes us who we are. Okay. And it's a really nice way to just check and balance on decision making and plans and strategies.
We were talking about events as well. Before the pandemic, obviously, there were events galore and people would just go to everything. But now I think people are a bit more choosy, or actually choosing which ones to go to, because actually it takes time, it takes money to kind of zip around events, from here to there. But I do miss them, and I think there used to be lots of in the digital sector or digital economy happening in Bournemouth, but we were talking that we should maybe do something together or bring in different businesses, different sectors, especially with this BAT Lab kind of ecosystem where we are trying to bring different sectors, clients, inputs, businesses together. It's just interesting. What can we do in Bournemouth or Dorset as a whole to bring in? It doesn't have to be a digital event because those happen all the time. But it could be something along the lines of being the most human company. Yeah. How can we be the best?
I mean, I'm personally all for in-person events, but equally, it does feel like everyone is more strapped for time. I don't know. Since the lockdown, it just feels like people's time isn't as available as it once was. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's because we're making conscious decisions not to be available, or we are genuinely more busy, or it's just a different mental model that we've got of the world around us. Yeah. But we used to run an event called UX Bournemouth, and I still meet people, and I had a meeting last week with a contact who was saying, you need to bring UX Bournemouth back. Yeah. We need to get together. It was a really good event. and they would really like that to happen. And I've had quite a few conversations like that. So it feels like there's appetite for getting together. But we also know, if you run events, how much effort
time and
goes
cost.
into creating those events, certainly the in-person events. And I really like the idea of it. And whether I do that just as myself as a business, I'm not sure. Certainly at the moment, I've got the time.
Yeah.
And we have the experience of running events. There's lots of organisations, I'm sure, we're willing to get involved. We know there's people out there willing to get involved. And I just wonder if a bit of a joint effort for an event, some kind of context that isn't focused on particularly digital, but brings together a broader spectrum of businesses. We're meeting here where you're based, Gordon, in the Battle Lab, which is in a really good strategic location in Dorset, certainly where the crow flies, in that we're between Bournemouth, Weymouth, Dorchester, and it can be a really good place for people to come, and a great setup and great facilities here. So I just wonder if
there's something in it, but
there's something there.
We just need your input and get in touch, because actually we know there are businesses in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole that have been holding great events out there, and you know who you are. But I think let's try and do something. It doesn't have to be a massive festival.
No.
But we just need something together to celebrate all of the years we've been in business, but also to share our learnings. Doesn't have to be. We don't have to 10x everything or scale it £100 million sale or whatever, because actually most of the businesses are small and micro businesses, and we should celebrate that and not always think about the cream.
And maybe that's it. Maybe it's, look, this isn't about 10xing. This isn't about getting more people to buy more stuff next week. Maybe it's about how can we run good quality businesses with a plan of good growth where we can make profit, but we're not 10xing. We can be compassionate and empathetic for the people around us and our teams. And we just want to run good businesses that we're proud of. And maybe there's something in that we can bring businesses together.
Absolutely. So if you want to join in or have some ideas, then let's get in touch.
Contact Gordon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.